And welcome back to the show number 192, as mentioned, with our weekly segment with our friend Keith Martin from Sports Car Market Magazine. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, Stewart.
How are you this morning?
I am ready to rock and roll.
I am ready too. Your blog last week with the video and the extra pictures was great. Or this week, excuse me.
You liked it.
Yeah, and I love your opening line. Until this weekend, I was unaware that Maserati had built a commercial grade spin dryer in 1956. I mean, who knew?
Right.
That is crazy. It's so funny, like Lamborghini tractors and Porsche tractors, but Maserati and a commercial grade spin dryer.
Right, exactly.
I love that. So, SCMer, if those who don't know what that means, it's the Sports Car Market readers, alumni. I don't know. Are they team members? What do we call them?
Do you call them dealers and stealers?
Yeah. Well, not to their face.
Okay.
So he's got a unbelievable Maserati Replica 350S that looks like and sounds like the coolest car you've ever seen or heard.
Well, it's it's got a 5-liter 4-cam V8, and it probably weighs nothing.
Right. And he decided to take you for a ride this past weekend, I guess, and you did a little filming of that, which is on. If you go to the website, sportscarmarket.com, you can look at Keith's blog and catch the video and some of the pictures of the car. Really, it looked like a lot of fun.
Well, it was a dream come true. You know, I had some people comment that a lot of people talk about this kind of thing, but very few people actually do it.
Right. I think that's so true. Like,
and he's got that car dialed now where on a nice day, he can just jump into it and drive for half an hour.
Yeah. And that's so important because so many of cars that we want to get in on a Saturday, there's some kind of stumbling block. The battery's dead or it's out of gas or this, that, or the other. And you go, oh, well, we'll do it next. And we can't keep putting stuff off. You and I are not getting any younger.
Well, I understand.
So we cannot say, oh, we'll do that next week or the month later or 2 months later because, we got to get on it. We got too many things on our list to get done.
That's exactly right, Stewart.
I love that you said, just to reaffirm who was in charge, a 6-inch flame shot out from the hood louver when you started.
That was, I said, you always do that. And he goes, well, yeah.
Just so nonchalant, right? Yeah, well, it's just one of those things. One of the things that happen. I had a friend of mine who had an airplane, and we would always take off. We can only go to certain airports. And I said, why is that? He said, well, sometimes the right engine has the tendency not to keep running. So good to know.
Well, the problem with that, with an airplane like that, I like to think about things on what their natural state is.
Right.
Like for a boat, its natural state is at the bottom of the ocean. Go back. If a car you pull over to the side of the road.
Right.
With an airplane's natural state, it's a long way down.
Yeah, it's a long way down. I think I'd like it better if they flew closer to the ground. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't do well for the noise regulations and all that. So
I'm just curious about your Lotus Europa because, I know you're secretly pitching me on that car.
I'm really mind melding to you, Keith, right now. The whole reason we're having you on is because we want you to buy that Europa. Once you buy it, we're going to be like, well, sure.
You've got a buy here, pay here program.
We do. We have
$1,000 down and $1,000 a week.
Absolutely. For you, anything, we, and then we're going to add the undercoating and we're going to add the extended warranty and we're going to add.
What about the fabric protection?
The Scotch Guard, right? Because you got to have, you don't want the non-Scotch Guard because that stuff's inferior. You want the good stuff, right?
I ran the Ferrari dealership here for a while.
Right.
And the amount that we would charge for all of those things was a lot.
Yeah, it'll bring a tear to your eye.
As salesmen, we got a bigger commission
on
those things by far than on the car.
Well, and nowadays, I imagine that a new car dealer, even Ferraris, I mean, it's, those guys are all dressed pretty nice when you walk into a Ferrari dealership. The sales guys even have, an Armani suit on, if that's even still, I don't know, is that even still a thing? Armani suit. That was the reference point if you were, had the high dollar suit. But those guys look like they're doing okay.
They're doing okay. Ferrari, when I worked there in the 80s, it was really a boutique manufacturer, and there were only a certain number of cars you could get each year, and each dealer had his own region. And if you sold a car to somebody outside your region, they would take a car out of your allotment.
Right. And, it's funny how the dealership model has changed so much over the years. It used to be You sold within your county. If you were a Chevy dealer or a Ford dealer or whatever, you sold within the county that you were in. And now the way we sell cars is completely different, yet the laws are still kind of based on that old model.
Yeah. I think that one of the old-time dealers here in town said the big change for him in the past 20 years is that the cars used to stay local.
Yeah. Yep.
But because of the internet and the way the world has evolved, when a car goes now, he won't have the chance to sell it 2 or 3 more times.
Exactly. Well, and the other thing, you remember when people started doing this, when this became more and more prevalent back in the early 2000s, when people were buying across state lines, that a lot of the dealerships were like, well, we're not going to warranty your car if you didn't buy it here. If you bought this down in Virginia and you live in Maryland, then you're going to have to figure out something else because we're not going to service it if you live in Maryland and bought it somewhere else. And of course, that's changed now. I mean, it's not even a thing anymore.
Don't you think it's interesting? I think we can learn more about cars over the internet before we buy them than ever before.
Right.
Think how it used to be Auto Shopper.
Yeah.
It was with one when we got one black and white picture and we were so excited.
Exactly. And God, when you went to the auto show, man, you were really, I mean, it was, and if you go back 50 years, I mean, you remember when I don't remember this, but like in 1963, when the Corvette Stingray came out, they had the paper on the windows and they unveiled it and people literally gasped when they saw, it was like they were seeing a spaceship or something. I mean, now, these auto shows are struggling so much because everybody's already seen them on the internet.
That's right. Well, the biggest thing I remember about going to the auto shows is how fast a journalist could get the official press kit onto eBay.
Right. Yeah, and sell it for $500 or whatever, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah, I remember the new car show would come to town, and it was pretty exciting because you hadn't seen any of the new models, and especially when they were in a significant model change. And then, of course, the World of Wheels would come to town as well, too, with the Rat Fink and all those goofy things as well. So It was fun to be a kid in the 60s and see all that stuff happening, and it still happens today. I don't know. It's different for whatever reason.
It's just different. Because I believe that social media is the direct mail of this era.
Sure. Yeah. You're not doing, a lot of postcard mailers. I mean, I still get them. I still get postcard mailers from companies that send you stuff. And I don't know how effective it is. It's like the emails you get, there's certain auction houses, we won't be specific, but you get an email like every 13 minutes. And you don't unsubscribe because at some point in time there's going to be a morsel of something that you would have missed had you not gotten their email. But most of the time it's just delete, 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 delete.
Right. I agree 100%.
Yeah. So your ride in the Maserati was that? I mean, that's a pretty cool car, and even though it's a replica, it was done properly, right?
It was done in Argentina by a specialist there. Really, Chris and I, the owner, we talked a lot about what it must have been like to drive something like that, a monster like that, in the Mille Miglia.
Yeah, with skinny tires.
From day into night, into day again, on open roads. They didn't close the roads for the race.
Right, farm animals coming out, and
I mean it was just a different era, and I like to go back. I like to be in his car because it takes me back in time.
Right. Well, and it's one of those experiences that not many people will get to ride in either a real one or a replica. I mean, it's just not something that's going to, come into your world very often. And you just can't say no to something like that because you get to experience what it was like. And, the simpler times and all that, we feel like that maybe we're back in the old days, and maybe they're right and maybe they're wrong. Maybe the good old days weren't that good at all.
They were just what they were, Stewart. In other words, they were all we had to compare them to.
Right. Exactly. Not much of
a... When you're driving in a 1965 56 car, you're not thinking about, what would this car be like in a 62?
Right. Right. Just a used car, right?
Yeah, you're just driving it, and the main thing about driving that car is it's just so outrageous to be in city traffic. Like you're looking around, and there's a Hyundai and a Kia and a Toyota and a Honda and a Maserati replica.
Well, they must think that you are aliens when they see you driving in that car, right?
I don't know.
And y'all had the little pith helmets on too, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, well, that was the helmet I wore when I drove in the 91 Mille.
Right, that's right. We had talked about that. I had forgotten about that.
That's somehow through all my moves and all the different things, I've managed to hang on to those two helmets. Well, you can actually buy a replica of those helmets, a direct replica.
Wow, that's interesting to know.
For whatever reason, yeah.
Well, if you ever decide to sell it, I'm your memorabilia guy. So
okay, I've got a Europa I'd trade for.
We'll talk about that in the future if it hadn't sold, because we'll get the price right for you. So everybody, Keith Martin joining us from Sports Car Market Magazine. Be listening to the promo that's afterwards. It tells you about the special offer he's going to make for you. And we'll catch you next week on the Classic Auto Mall Show. We'll see you then.
Here's a special offer from Sports Car Market Magazine. Get a 6-month subscription for just $19.95 by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive and the number 6. That's sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. If you're a buyer, a seller, or just general classic car enthusiast, publisher Keith Martin says,
we've been around almost 40 years. It's the Wall Street Journal of the collector car world.
Activate your 6-month trial of Sports Car Market Magazine by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. Offers for a limited time. Be in the know with Sports Car Market. The Classic Auto Mall Show with their host, Stewart Howden. Available on classicautomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.